Do you remember these airport seats? The ones with metal bars that stop you from lying down? They're designed to keep you awake when all you want is just a bit of rest. I once spent more than 5 hours waiting in a transit zone like that. It felt like torture. You're half asleep, half awake, trapped between flights, just waiting for time to pass. We all know why we do it. Those tickets are cheaper, so we endure the pain thinking, well, that's just how travel is. But what if it doesn't have to be? As architects, we're not only building spaces, we're solving problems. So, how can we redesign this entire experience? Let me share an idea that could redefine airport travel as we know it. An idea born alongside Masari Walk Dubai, rooted in a contextual design approach and the need for a better solution. This concept might just change the way we move through the world. So, let's explore it together. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments if you believe in this idea as well. Let's dive in. Do you know how much the world has changed in the way we travel? In 2010, about 950 million people traveled internationally each year. By 2019, just before COVID-19, that number had surged to almost 1.5 billion, a 60% increase in less than a decade. Then came the pandemic, obviously, and travel almost stopped. But by 2024, the world was back on the move. Over 1.4 billion travelers took international trips again, nearly reaching pre-pandemic levels. And now in 2025, we're entering a new era. With global tourism expected to surpass 1.5 billion travelers, we're not just seeing a recovery, we're witnessing a transformation. Travel today is faster, broader, and more personal than ever before. Driven by faster connections, low-cost carriers, and expanding regional mobility networks, the way people move is fundamentally changing. We're not just returning to travel, we're redefining it, going further, staying longer, and connecting in entirely new ways. And that brings us to the question, why are people traveling more? The answer is actually simple. For the case of business, it has become borderless. We can collaborate with anyone, anywhere, instantly. Clients no longer choose based on location. They choose based on quality, reliability, and of course, price. So it drives international trips before contracts are signed or when in-person meetings are needed. And beyond business, we meet our siblings, our families, our friends across continents more easily than ever before. And beyond all of that, we travel to experience differences, to see how people live differently, to feel what another culture feels like. Because the more social media shows us the world, the more we want to experience it physically. Photos and videos are never enough anymore. Once we see a place on our screen, we start imagining ourselves being there, walking those streets, feeling that air. That curiosity soon turns into action. We search, we compare prices, and then we book, often choosing the cheaper tickets, and we go. That's one big reason people travel more today, and we can expect even more in the future. Many airlines now offer budget-friendly flights, and that model works well for them. Transit trips are part of that equation. They make scheduling more flexible and help fill seats that would otherwise stay empty. But cheaper tickets come with a trade-off, longer transit times. And we all know, transit isn't always pleasant. Most airports are designed for logistics, not for life. They move people efficiently, but they rarely care about comfort, especially for those waiting long hours between flights. So as travelers, we make a choice, save money but spend time. And as architects, we have to ask, what if that time didn't feel wasted? What if transit itself could become part of the journey, something memorable, even enjoyable? That's where design comes in. Transit zones should be designed for experience, not just for movement. They should offer calm, discovery, and comfort, a sense of place, not just passage. To explain this, I want to draw a comparison, something we all know well, the shopping mall. Malls and airports might sound unrelated, but they share the same DNA, large enclosed climate-controlled spaces built for people in motion. Let's look at Hong Kong, Seoul, and Tokyo. Their malls are always full, not because of shopping alone, but because of connectivity. They're directly linked to public transportation, to subways, bus lines, and pedestrian networks. And people walk in, grab a meal, meet a friend, buy something small, and leave within an hour. Given the casual nature of visits, these malls don't require large footprints or a wide range of experiences. Even smaller malls can succeed because people come and go spontaneously as part of their daily movement. Take City Plaza in Taikushing. It's one of the busiest malls, but it's only around 20,000 square meters building footprint. You can't even really see it on the map because it's tucked right beneath an apartment complex. It's always full of people, not because it's a big destination, but because it's part of their daily path. It literally works like a street. People just walk through it on their way home. That's why they're not a suitable comparison to airport transit zones, where people often stay longer and need a wider range of options. Now compare that to suburban malls in the US. They're different. People drive to them because there's nowhere else to go. They become weekend destinations, places where families spend the whole day shopping, watching movies, having coffee. But they don't need to be enormous or overly complex to be successful. A bigger size doesn't always mean a better experience. It often means a bigger investment and a higher risk. These malls don't have to be over-designed, they just need to be comfortable, efficient, and complete enough to hold people's attention throughout the day. Because suburban malls are often standalone buildings without residential towers or hotels connected to them, the visitors come mainly for planned outings, not spontaneous visits like in city centers. So while the experience is longer, the total number of visitors is much smaller compared to the dense urban malls in Asia or the Middle East. A good example is Memorial City Mall in Houston, Texas. It has a building footprint of around 170,000 square meters and draws about 20 million visitors per year. It's a large suburban mall by US standards, serving families who drive there, park, and spend the entire day inside. And if you think about it, Texas and Dubai actually share a similar climate, long, hot summers, and limited walkable outdoor conditions. So, like Dubai, the mall becomes a climate-controlled social space where people can walk, meet, dine, and relax comfortably. But the difference lies in the density and intensity of use, how many people move through the space, and how the mall connects to its city. So, suburban malls in the US work quite differently from malls in Asia. They're more like destinations. People drive there and stay for hours. That's why they tend to be large, even in footprint, and attract more dedicated visitors. In that sense, they could offer some inspiration for how airport transit spaces are designed, but even then, the population density is still much lower than what you'd find in an airport transit zone. Now let's look at Dubai, and this is where things get really interesting. Dubai's malls act almost like urban centers. Because of the extreme heat for most of the year, the mall becomes the new street. It's not just a shopping space, it's a public realm. It's where people socialize, walk, eat, and spend their leisure time, the indoor version of public life. Now think about the scale. In 2024, Dubai Mall welcomed over 110 million visitors with a building footprint of about 270,000 square meters. With its multiple levels, the total gross floor area easily reaches over 1 million square meters. Meanwhile, Dubai International Airport handled over 90 million passengers. And the Mall of the Emirates saw about 40 million visitors annually with a footprint of around 240,000 square meters. So when we talk about designing an airport, we're actually discussing a space that handles the same number of people as a major city mall, at least for the case of Dubai International Airport. But what about other airports? In most large cities, the annual number of travelers easily exceeds 50 million people. For example, JFK in New York handles around 62 million passengers per year, Incheon in Seoul about 70 million, and Doha around 52 million. These numbers show that large airports operate on a scale very similar to, or even greater than, the busiest malls in the world. The difference, of course, lies in their purpose. One is for leisure, the other for transit, but both share the same human requirements: comfort, clarity, and flow. Let's look at the sizes once again. Both the Mall of the Emirates and Dubai Mall have building footprints between 240,000 and 270,000 square meters, roughly the size of a large urban block in a walkable city, which I've discussed before in my video What Makes Malls Thrive. As mentioned earlier, the Mall of the Emirates welcomes around 40 million visitors per year, while Dubai Mall attracts more than 110 million. When you think about it, these numbers are quite comparable to major airports. And when you look at those malls, they're almost always full, active, lively, and constantly filled with people who drive there on purpose. It's a different story from malls in Asia, where many visitors are just passing through as part of their daily routine. That tells us something important about scale and comfort. The ideal size for people to explore without getting lost comes down to one simple rule of urban design: the 500-meter walking distance. And that brings us to an area of 500 by 500 meters, totaling 250,000 square meters. It's the range where walking still feels natural, comfortable, and human. Urban design research strongly supports this idea. Planners like Jan Gehl and Jeff Speck, along with global transit studies, consistently show that people are most comfortable walking about 400 to 500 meters, roughly a 5 to 10 minute walk. That's the distance people are naturally willing to walk to reach a cafe, a shop, or a transit stop, as long as the path feels safe, shaded, and visually engaging. Beyond that, comfort and motivation start to decline. The walk begins to feel long, repetitive, or exposed unless there are stops, changes in scenery, or moments of rest along the way. This same principle has quietly shaped airport design for decades, from Dulles International in 1962, which introduced mobile lounges to shorten walking distances, to Dallas-Fort Worth in 1974 and Atlanta in 1980. Each major hub learned to keep pedestrian segments within a few hundred meters and add trains or moving walkways once distances exceeded that comfort range. Even without naming it, airports have long followed the same human rule that governs great cities and malls: design around the distance people actually enjoy walking. When spaces are designed at a comfortable walking scale, people can move around easily and take a break when they need to, and also still have a good sense of where they are, especially, of course, when the interior design helps guide them. But once things start to spread out too much, it feels like a hassle to walk, and people naturally turn to cars or other ways to get around. And just like that, the whole sense of comfort and walkability starts to fade. This kind of human-scale environment allows people to feel grounded, to understand where they are and how the space connects around them. That sense of spatial awareness gives both comfort and confidence, and the same principle applies perfectly to airport transit zones. When the spatial arrangement is right, travelers should feel they can reach their gate within about 10 minutes of walking, yet still have the freedom to explore, relax, and enjoy the journey along the way. When we understand this connection between urban design principles and human-scale experience, the purpose of the airport changes. It's no longer a machine for movement, it becomes a small, walkable city. And the form matters. If the space is too linear, just one long corridor, people can see everything at once. And when most of that space is taken up by gates tucked into narrow arcades, there's just not enough room left to create meaningful experiences with shops, retail, or places to relax. So instead of encouraging people to explore or enjoy the space, it ends up feeling empty, with nothing to do but sit and stare out at the airplanes. In that kind of environment, there's no sense of discovery. It feels endless, repetitive, and tiring. People subconsciously think, if I walk there, I'll have to walk all the way back. That creates a psychological burden. But if the design blends circular or rectangular forms to bring shops, cafes, and entertainment closer together, it completely changes the experience. The gates are positioned on one side, while the other side offers a range of experiences to enhance the transit journey. So people explore naturally, they find variety. They discover cafes, lounges, and shops as they move. Like strolling through a neighborhood, it's still efficient, but it feels human. And when it's time to rest, there are options too, from sleep pods to micro hotels, where travelers can stay comfortably for a few hours or even a few days, all within a walkable, easily accessible location. Add entertainment, local F&B, and cultural experiences, all within easy reach, and the transit zone becomes a destination in itself. And that's where the real opportunity lies. If the transit zone becomes a comfortable and engaging place to stay, people will actually start seeking flights with transit. Waiting hours would no longer feel like a burden. Instead, they could become part of the travel experience. Airlines could then offer more flexible options and even cheaper tickets for transit routes. Normally, people prefer short layovers of 2 to 3 hours, and anything longer feels inconvenient. But with this kind of development, transit travel could actually encourage people to stay 12 hours or even a few days at the airport, turning layovers into meaningful experiences rather than wasted time. And because of all this, I believe this shift could completely redefine the industry paradigm. What used to be seen as downtime, the layover, the waiting, can actually become a meaningful part of the journey. Instead of just passing through, people could begin to experience airports as destinations in their own right. And if we design transit zones with that in mind, they can become powerful platforms for tourism, culture, and connection. So people won't just travel to a place, they'll travel through experiences. And in the end, they might remember the layover just as much as the arrival. That's the vision, and that's where design truly matters. Because when architecture considers movement, comfort, and curiosity together, it doesn't just serve travelers. It shapes how people experience the world in motion. It turns transit into transformation. And in the next video, I'll take a closer look at the missed opportunities in the recent developments of new airport designs and discuss how these ideas could have been better. Please stay tuned. Thank you for watching. If you care about creating better spaces for all of us and for future generations, please like, share, and turn on notifications. Even small actions help spread this idea in a world that often chases flashy trends and wow factors instead of thoughtful, context-driven design. Together, we can build spaces that truly make sense for people today and for generations to come.